will be right back with information on parental abductions and how to look for signs of alienation in your child. Don't go away. Welcome back to New York Viewpoint. I'm Ken Rosato. When parents get separated or divorced, their children sometimes feel torn between the two. Parental Alienation Syndrome, or PAS, occurs when one parent actually makes an attempt to turn a child against the other parent. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Amy J.L. Baker, author of Adult Children of Parental Alienation Syndrome, Breaking the Ties That Bind. Well, thank you so much for being here this morning. What is Parental Alienation Syndrome?
Well, there are two terms that we use. Parental alienation is the term we use to describe the strategies, the behaviors that one parent uses to try to turn the child against the other parent. Parental alienation syndrome is the term we use to describe the child who has succumbed to the pressure, has been manipulated, and comes to believe that that other parent is worthy of cutting out of his life.
Why did you choose to study parental alienation syndrome and parental alienation?
You know, it is a vastly understudied area. Parents are desperate to know, will I ever get my child back? My child has rejected me. I haven't seen my child. What is this doing to my child? What can I do to speed up the process of getting my child back? There are burning questions that guided my research. And that's every researcher's dream, to find an area where people want to know the answers to the questions you're studying.
How many people did you actually research for this?
I've done several studies, but the big one that's in my book, that turned into my book, I studied 40 adults who believed that when they were children, one of their parents manipulated them to reject the other parent.
Now, you were mentioning before we went on with this segment that you've been at gatherings and whatnot, and a lot of people don't understand the term parental alienation syndrome, right. But when you describe what it is, they say, oh, that was me, or
exactly.
Oh, my friend is doing that right now.
Right, or my brother's going through a divorce, or when I was a child, my parents manipulated me. I didn't talk to my mom for 10 years. I can't talk to 20 people without at least one or two of them connecting personally to this problem.
And amazingly, sometimes you'll hear from, if we all know some couples going through divorces, separations, you'll hear from either one. You'll hear the same story, that the other one is trying to pit the child against me. Sometimes, I know of two different couples right now where that's happening,
right.
Where you'll hear the wife and the husband each saying to me separately, that they're pitting the child against. It could very well be.
And it could be true. The families that I study are situations in which one parent purposefully says, I'm going to ruin your relationship with my child. And the other parent is truly a victim, targeted for this. So that's sort of the extreme, when one parent sets out to purposefully ruin the other parent's relationship with the child.
And it's so sad because the relationship issues were between the parents, and the child really should be just left out of this.
Right.
Let the child have their childhood.
Absolutely.
What are some pieces of advice you can recommend for parents who are going through this?
Well, the main thing is really to understand what the top 20 parental alienation strategies are. You know, we all can think of a couple off the top of our head, like bad-mouthing the other parent or limiting contact with the other parent. But there's 17 major strategies that I identified, and parents need to know them in advance. They're very obvious in hindsight, but we want to catch this before it's too late. So parents need to become educated. What are those 17 things? They need to document them if they see them happening. They need to get an attorney who believes in parental alienation and understands that kids can be manipulated. And then, you know, the other thing is we can really teach parents how to creatively protect the relationship with their child and how to help their children develop what's known as critical thinking skills so that the kids can't be manipulated.
So one of the things, maybe, no matter how much the father might hate, I hate to use the word hate, but might hate the mother, or the mother might hate the father, just avoid using any pejorative terms about the former spouse in front of the child?
That would be a good rule to follow, but the problem is the parents who are doing it, you can't get them to stop. They're sort of hopeless cases a lot of times. They're so convinced that they're right. They so want to punish that other parent. You could tell them, you're hurting your child. This is a form of abuse. They're not going to stop. We need to get the parent who's the victim of this and get them educated so that they can protect their relationship.
So what are the long-term effects of this on a child?
Yeah, that's the main question in my research study, and what I found was that the same long-term effects for people who've been in a cult are what I found in the people that I studied.
Sort of brainwashing.
Yeah, it's, you know, there's a chapter in my book called The Cult of Parenthood. It is like being in a cult. Alienating parents intuitively use the same strategies: thought reform, emotional manipulation, control of the environment, the same strategies as cult leaders use.
Could a parent be contributing to this and not even realizing it?
Well, there are some parents who might be a little delusional, a little so angry that they're not really realizing. But again, the ones that I study, some of them really know what they're doing, and they're really doing it on purpose.
What about the ones that might say, oh, your father? You know, there's more of a passive-aggressive approach as opposed to out and out saying your father is this or your mother is that.
Right, a little here, a little there. I think kids can deal with that. That's sort of par for the course for divorce.
So there is a difference then between, the child isn't necessarily ignorant to the fact that, all right, mom and dad are not together. Obviously, there is love lost there. So it's okay if you say, well, we have challenges, whatever. But it has to stop there. It can't go to the level of hatred and turning the child against the other
When
parent.
you start seeing all 17 of those strategies, you're in trouble. You know, a little here, a little there, not horrible, although it would be better if you said, oops, I have to keep that to myself. That's not the kind of thing I should say in front of my child.
All right, so now you started to talk about the victim parent. How does the victim parent protect that relationship? What are the most important things that victim parent can do?
Well, they need to not take the bait. That's sort of the most important thing, because what happens is the kid goes and spends time with the alienating parent, comes home to you, if you're the targeted parent, and starts accusing you. Why did you cheat on mom or dad? Why did you steal my college money? I can't tell you how many times I've heard children who are 2 years of age, you know, complaining that the other parent stole their college money.
Really?
The targeted parent's job is to not take the bait, to be empathic with their child and say, you think I did that? That must really hurt. And not run upstairs, get the bank statements, wave it in the child's face. I would never steal your college money. So there's actually a strategy for being empathic, being safe, being loving, being available, not fighting with your kid all of the time about all of those accusations.
Fascinating, and with nearly 50% of marriages ending in divorce, and so many of those marriages having produced children, something that a lot of people need to take note of.
Indeed.
Dr. Baker, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me on the show.
And for information on all of the organizations featured on Viewpoint, and if you'd like to watch this show again at your leisure, do visit us at 7online.com/viewpoint.